Vampires are probably the most overdone concept right next to zombies and superheroes. Does Mark Millar stick the landing with his new vampire comic Vatican City, or does it kick my ass into wanting to read something else? Let's chat about that. First, if you don't know writer Mark Millar, he's known for writing Kick-Ass, Marvel Civil War, Old Man Logan, and a lot more comics. I'm a massive fan of Mr. Millar. He's really written a handful of my favorite comics like Kick-Ass and the Magic Order. I also want to mention that I was kindly given an early review copy from Mr. Millar himself, and I'm extremely grateful that he was kind enough to give a review copy to a reviewer without an audience, so thank you. That's rarely done, you know, nobody cares about the little guy, but that being said, I don't know if Vatican City is a standout amongst what I've read this year so far. I had to go back and read Kick-Ass #1 and the Magic Order to understand like my gut reaction and gripes about this story. But before I tell you that, let me tell you what Vatican City is about so far. Vatican City #1 lays the groundwork for the story to come. It's about vampires doing their best to take over Vatican City after they took over America. They'll find it a bit tricky because they can't get onto holy ground, but the humans are worried because all of the guards at the Vatican City are gone. Their only hope right now is our main character Guido, a potential Swiss Army recruit, and he just casually carries around a yo-yo, and I think that's awesome. But either way, he must step up and rally the people in the city to fight against the vampires and stop them from their plan. Now let's start with the positives, then I have some critiques. You know, I think this has the potential to be a very fun and interesting story. You get vampires, blood, and action, which a lot of people love, including myself. The main character is interesting enough, even though we don't spend a lot of time with him before the action starts. We see that he's a natural leader and jumps into action when others don't. Also, he just carries around a yo-yo with him, and anyone who does that, in my book, is a cool guy. I'm really hoping to see the yo-yo come back and be super important in some way later. If it's not, I will be disappointed. But those are my positives. Now let's talk about my critiques, yep. I love Invincible. The art. Let's just start with the art. You know, now it might be because I read it digitally, but I just don't vibe with the art direction. You know, I see what they were trying to go for, but it didn't hit my eyes in a fun way, for example, like Resurrection Man did. It has a sketchy feel, but it still looks like the sketch or a concept of what the art should look like, and it's not something I would necessarily hang up on my wall, though the cover I would hang up on my wall. Now that being said, the art does what it really needs to do, that is have good composition and delivers the visual information that we need, and I appreciate that. Hello, quick note about the art. It actually looks better when I zoomed out. When I was so zoomed in, it like kind of got blurry and it didn't look as good. So I think this was more of a digital issue and zooming in too much, although it still kind of does look a little bit too sketchy, but it is a lot better when I zoom out. I think I'll like it more when I have the comic book in my hand. Just want to put that out there. Because the artist Per Berg is doing a fantastic job, and I don't want to kind of offend him in any way. A nitpick here, you know, like everything I do, I love to nitpick. The lettering to me is a bit unappealing. The balloons blend in a little bit too much with the art style, which made them fade into the background instead of popping out. And then the digital text just contrasts too poorly with the comic sketch. Like, I just wish the aesthetics fit, like they went with a handwritten font instead of a digital font. The digital text just contrasts too poorly with the sketchy art direction that they're going with. The writing itself is good. The first issue is very fast-paced and it gets us right to the end, and it is really fast-paced, which is fine. But story-wise, that fast pace mixed with the scope of this story sacrifices a deeper connection with the main character and the world. Like, I didn't know if everyone in the world already knew that vampires existed in this world, or if they are figuring out for the first time, because the main character just kind of brought it out and was like, hey, it's vampires, right? Someone says, that's weird, but he's like, hey, man, it's the only explanation. It's like, and there was not a lot of context to make that decision. Everybody in the group kind of just like, was like, oh, yeah, I guess it's vampires. And another small nitpick is, personally, for a character standpoint, I wish we got to see everything that he info dumped in his introduction when he was talking to the front desk people. I don't know, I just feel like we got to see that. And maybe we could watch the carnage unfold in the background. Off the top of my head, which is like Shaun of the Dead, how they introduced through like news clips. Now, this character thing might be a personal nitpick, and I'm not accounting for the next issues where we can learn more about the character. Just for comparison, I really enjoyed the way he built up Dave and Kick-Ass's first issue, and also the world, right? It established the world, the characters, the tone, in the same amount of time as this one, which is fine, but I don't know, the ending just didn't hit with me because I didn't connect to the character as much. And a note expanding on the Kick-Ass comparison, like, where Kick-Ass, like, felt like an indie movie, right? And Vatican City just feels like a Netflix original movie. I just feel like there was more heart and passion thrown into Kick-Ass that really radiated off the page, where Vatican City #1 just feels like a beginning of a blockbuster. Neither approach is wrong for entertainment purposes, you know, as there is a place for indie movies and blockbusters. If you're talking to a moviegoer and not a studio head, they hate indie movies. It just wasn't exactly what I expected. I'm still gonna pick up the next issue to see where it goes, because it's not a bad story by any means, it just didn't hook me in the same way that Kick-Ass did. And it's probably not fair to compare best works to most recent work, but it's also impossible not to compare when such a high bar was set before. My final rating is go check out the issue, and if you like it, add it to your pull list. If not, wait for the trade paperback to come out. It kind of just feels like a story you want to read one arc or the whole thing at a time, like my massive nibus back here for Outcast. Did you read Vatican City? Are you excited for it? Let me know in the comment, and you can click that video on the screen to watch more of my reviews, because if you watch my reviews, you might find your next favorite comic. Alright, okay, goodbye now.